This is the Marys River Natural Area, just south of Corvallis, and I've been here before. The last time I was here was October of 2021, I believe. So another place that somehow I missed visiting in 2022. And I've just locked up my bike, and it doesn't have normal bike racks here, so I attached it to the bench. And it's also a little bit of a surprise when I come to a natural area that, you know, would be natural destination for bicyclists, and there's not good bicycle parking. Anyway, with that slight complaint out of the way, I'm just going to walk down this trail and see what there is to see. It's the 1st of February, and it's a sunny day but cold. So I'm on a side path. I'm trying to see if I can see the river from here. See the Marys River, still close to the parking lot. So here we go. Even though this is the Marys River Natural Area, there's not a lot of easy access to even see the river, and the river has pretty steep banks here. But here's what it looks like. Not incredibly high, but it does have a lot of sediment in it. It is still winter here. The last time I was here, I made an observation that I'd been here in the winter and in the autumn, but I've never been here in spring and summer, and that's still the case. So I'm here visiting on another time when, you know, things are kind of drab. We have a lot of sunshine, but, you know, these bushes and grass haven't started growing out yet. Despite the cold weather, there are birds out here. Can't see what that was. That's another thing I'll have to check when I get home. So, you know, there's still life is starting. 6 weeks or 7 weeks till astronomical spring, but in Oregon, through February, things are going to start increasing, especially shrubs and more hardy birds. So over there on that hill and around here, we can see there's a lot of homes over there. And the reason that this wetland is preserved is not just out of sentimentality or concern for nature. It's also because if you built here, you would be getting flooded out every 2 or 3 years. So there's a lot of development around Corvallis, and a lot of times when places aren't developed, it's because there would be some problems. I've been here when this was all under like a foot of water. This shows more of the flora of the park. Here we have a rose tree or rose bush, really common, and of course, look at those fruits. Those are a good resource for birds. And then we also have things like we have wild teasel, and of course we have the wild carrot. So this is a wetland, but I don't know to what extent they're trying to restore the habitat here, because I do see, oh, and look at what we have there. That's another common invasive, the Armenian or Himalayan blackberry. So I don't know to what extent, or, you know, they're trying to restore the habitat here to a more natural state with natural plants, which is kind of an uphill battle, and, you know, you have other places they need to do that. So I don't know if that's a long-term plan or not. But as it is, I mean, it's a really pleasant natural area. There is a lot of birds here. But there's still also a lot of invasive plants. There's also what looks to be a lot of lupin, which at first I thought was cinquefoil, because I think I've seen cinquefoil grow here before, but the cinquefoil is not growing right now, so I'll have lupin. So yeah, another invasive plant, or maybe semi-invasive. You know, and these plants can still be a part of the ecosystem, still provide food and shelter. But it is not a natural prairie habitat that would have been here before European settlement. So we have a body of standing water here, and if you can see, there is ice on it. Now, ice on a small body of water in a lot of the US would not be news right now, but in Oregon this is somewhat unusual. You know, it was down to -4 Celsius last night, 25 Fahrenheit, something like that, which is cold enough to freeze it, but not very deep. You can see there's open water too. So I walked down the dirt trail for a while, then I walked on this paved road, and near I'm turning back onto the boardwalk. We have this nice elevated boardwalk, and just like at Jackson Fraser, this is not just here for aesthetics, it's because, yeah, this area does flood. And in fact, right now, even though it's not flooded, if I was walking through it, it would be disturbing the ground and getting my shoes very muddy. So I have this nice elevated boardwalk. Goes on for a while. This is where the boardwalk ends. I'm going to continue on for a little while before turning around. So like I said, I haven't been here for about 14 months, 15 months. And this is like a 20-minute bicycle ride from my home at a very leisurely pace. I could come here pretty much every day. So there is kind of a problem, you know, it's kind of a problem in Corvallis, is that we have so many places to go and so many places to see that, like, a really nice area like this, I might just put it off because there's no specific reason to go here when I have other similar places. I don't want to talk about this too much specifically, but, you know, I've lived in Oregon most of my life, Washington and Oregon most of my life, but I do leave from time to time, and I don't know how much longer I'll be living in Oregon at this point. I do have plans to move on at some point, don't know when, don't know where. But the last time I was out of the state, which was also I was out of the country when I lived in Chile, a lot of times I would just look at pictures of the Willamette Valley and I'd miss it so much. And so sometimes, you know, I will be kicking myself for all the like little things that I miss, even though I go out a lot. It's a treasure to live here, but it's easy to overlook. You know, and we all have to go sometime, or we all have to leave sometime. So, you know, seeing as we all have to go, I really want to get these memories, because just this little walk, 20 minutes from my house along this trail, you know, this is something this is a memory I can treasure, and hopefully by making this record, I'll help other people enjoy it. Another point, I have seen a couple of people, past 4 or 5 people, walking down this trail. And a lot of times I don't photograph when there's people around, try to respect people's privacy. But even on this day, which is a, you know, cold Wednesday in February, there's still people out enjoying it. But, you know, a lot of people in Corvallis, you know, who live 2 or 3 miles away probably don't know this is here or haven't actively thought about it. So, you know, it is kind of, I don't know if I'd say a shame or a disappointment, but there is a lot out there that, you know, close to people that they might not always know about and might not appreciate. Back at the bridge. So today this entire trail around the park is maybe a mile from here to where the boardwalk ends, maybe a little bit less. So it's a pretty short walk, a lot like Jackson Fraser, but there's a lot to experience and enjoy. Today I did something a little bit less intensive than I did last week when I went to the C2C trail. And, you know, but because it's less intensive doesn't mean it's worse. Nice day for a stroll, and there will be more places I'll be going pretty soon. And whenever I go for a walk, there's always a moment of relief when I come back and I see my bicycle is still where I left it. You know, this was a 20 or 30 minute walk around a pretty secluded park where there's not a lot of people, and my bike is locked up pretty securely, but I always feel secure, more secure when I actually see it. I've walked a little way from the parking lot, and hopefully somewhere in this video the bird song, bird calls, or you know, birds flying around the background have been apparent. And one thing is, though, here I am by some water. This water here is still frozen, but further on we can see some open water. Other than birds, I haven't really seen any insects except maybe a few midges flying around, midges or gnats or whatever they are flying around close to the water here. I don't know if any of them are visible in this video. So things are warming up. There's birds are active. But we're still not to the time when insects will be active, that I can actually see, you know, and get a clear shot of. And that should be happening really in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you know, that some of the more hardy insects will become apparent. You know, flowers will start coming out. But for right now, things are still very dormant. That's part of a natural, it's part of the natural cycle. But I am getting a little impatient. I want spring to come. But soon spring will be here.